You might call it stormy weather.
Now, the president also joked about his age, as did headliner SNL comedian Colin Jost, who laughed about the president falling up the steps of Air Force One. In Washington, Dana Grimes, Spectrum News.
Coming up on Spectrum News, we'll break down the latest CNN poll released over the weekend, plus what to make of former President Trump's meeting with Ron DeSantis. All that and more up next on our Political Buzz.
We live in a country where diabetes and obesity are
for dying of a chronic disease.
Black and brown communities experience the highest burden of diabetes.
access to healthy foods are not an option.
Something's terribly wrong that this is allowed to happen.
Our healthcare system is not sustainable.
This is actually where the hard work begins.
Watch Exploring Your Health, USA 1C, Fighting the Rise of Diabetes. Available on all your favorite devices.
Sorry, guys, that took me for... What is this?
Well, you know how our T-Mobile home internet can slow down?
Uh-huh.
Turns out, walls can get in the way. So I fixed it.
So instead of getting us Spectrum internet, which is fast and reliable 24/7, you got us internet that can be blocked by walls.
Yes, but I think I fixed it.
By smashing a hole through our wall.
Well, technically, walls. Yeah, I might not want to go in the dining room.
Don't settle for T-Mobile cell phone internet.
Kid's a natural.
This is why I don't leave the house.
Get faster, more reliable internet speeds with Spectrum.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my son. One day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
A very good Monday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Ferdinand Fuhrer. So the threat for severe weather does continue today, although it'll be a little bit less than what we saw over the weekend. By the way, over the weekend in the Tornado Alley from Nebraska to Iowa, Missouri, we saw more than 150 tornado reports. Though, again, take that with a grain of salt. They are reports. Some people might have seen, or two people might have seen one tornado. So again, the assessors will go out and survey the damage, and they'll come up with an accurate number here over the next couple days. So the threat for today is along the Gulf Coast and through southern Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Again, today it's more heavy rain. You can't rule out a tornado, but the biggest threat would be flooding with vast amounts of rainfall. And then as we go into Tuesday, the same day, so eastern Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri all have a threat for severe weather again. That's more tornadoes, kind of like what we saw on Friday and even in some places on Saturday. So if you're in one of those areas or you know somebody, I'm sure they're aware as well. Here's the futurecast. So this morning we see eastern Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas. You get the threat for severe weather, but again, mostly heavy rain. Flooding, flash flooding is definitely a possibility and most likely going to happen there. And then as we go through the afternoon, it shifts onto the Gulf, but there's a line going in through eastern Mississippi into Alabama. And then as we go through the evening hours, it shifts up into Kentucky and into Tennessee. And then as we go Tuesday afternoon and then even possibly into Wednesday, you see this line right here where we could see more severe weather, kind of like what we saw on Friday and Saturday. That's from Iowa off toward the east. And then by the time we get into Wednesday, we're pretty much done with that system.
If you're just joining us or heading out the door, here's a look at what you need to know. Oklahoma's governor issuing an emergency disaster declaration over the weekend. Tornadoes left at least 4 dead and more than 100 injured. Now the threat is expanding through the south. Secretary of State Antony Blinken landing in Saudi Arabia this morning to push for a ceasefire in Gaza that secures the release of hostages. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden speaking with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over the weekend ahead of a possible Rafah invasion. The White House describes the talks as, quote, constructive. And protests continuing on college campuses across the country as graduation arrested over the weekend. And that's a look at what you need to know this morning. It's time now for our political buzz. Our Jason Fechner joins us now. Jason, let's take a look at this latest poll in the presidential race by CNN that came out over the weekend. It's showing former President Trump with an advantage. Tell us what stood out to you in this poll.
Bree, good morning. These new poll numbers from CNN show some good news for Trump and some challenging news for Biden and his campaign going forward. Month to month, essentially, former President Trump has not lost steam, 49% support from the month before, now into April as well. When we look at President Biden's support, that has slipped from 45% the month before, now down to 43%. So challenging there. The thing that really stood out to me, though, is when you look back at Trump's term in office, when he left office, bad view of his time in office, the pendulum has shifted 55% now, looking back with some rose-colored glasses on Trump's time in the White House there. So that pendulum has shifted in a positive direction for the former president.
And Jason, let's talk a little bit about the timing of this poll. It took place during the first week of the former president's first criminal trial.
Definitely the timing will factor into this in a big way. There had actually been some polling from CNN last week that had showed the potential impact of this criminal trial on Trump's potential presidential chances. And basically what it showed is that among Trump supporters out there, registered Trump supporters, 75% said that they're going to stick with Trump no matter what, regardless of whether or not there's a criminal conviction. 25%, though, essentially said that they would potentially reassess things if he's convicted at trial. And that's about 12% of the registered voter electorate overall. That's enough to obviously shake up this race in a very big way.
Yeah, super interesting. And now Trump and Florida governor and former presidential candidate Ron DeSantis that took place over the weekend. It was billed as a discussion about fundraising, but is there more to this?
We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, a contentious primary season between DeSantis and Trump. They had been so in lockstep before the primary kicked off. And then obviously DeSantis fell out of favor. He requested this meeting. Apparently, the DeSantis campaign ready to start fundraising for the former president there in Florida. A really interesting note out of the meeting as well. It said that they met and had breakfast while Trump was golfing. So I don't know if they were in the same golf cart, different golf carts. If DeSantis, it was more of a drive-by thing. So I don't know how much time they spent together, but it appears for now they're definitely looking to mend some fences there.
Yeah, we'll have to look into the details on that one. And Jason, finally, what was your favorite joke from the White House Correspondents' Dinner?
I appreciated the Gettysburg joke about Trump's recent comments on Gettysburg, and Biden Lee was looking to surrender a second time. I thought that was pretty good. And obviously, when it comes to Trump and the Correspondents' Dinner, not great history together. Barack Obama making jokes about Trump, and he said that that's what got Trump to run for president the first time around. And Trump has since bashed this Correspondents' Dinner as well, calling it really bad and a disaster. So no love lost between the former president and the Correspondents' Dinner.
Yeah, none at all. All right, Jason, thank you very much.
Have a great day.
U.S. intelligence officials determining Russian President Vladimir Putin likely didn't order the death of imprisoned opposition leader Alexei Navalny. While officials believe Putin was ultimately responsible for the February death of Navalny, the U.S. intelligence community finding no smoking gun that Putin was aware of the timing of Navalny's death. Soon after, President Joe Biden said Putin was on extremism charges that he rejected as politically motivated. Russian officials have maintained the 47-year-old died of natural causes. At least 10 people, including an NFL player, recovering this morning after being injured in a shooting in Florida. Police say a 16-year-old is the alleged gunman who opened fire Saturday at a private party venue outside of Orlando after a fight broke out. A security guard immediately tackled the teen. A second guard handcuffed him until local deputies arrived to make the arrest. Authorities say all victims, including Houston Texan wide receiver Tank Dell, were taken to a hospital and are expected to survive. The alleged teen gunman faces several charges. Next on Spectrum News, it's International Dance Day, and we'll bring you the inspiring story of a young dancer using her love of ballet to connect with her community.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Good Monday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Ferdinand Fuhr with a quick check of your travel forecast. If you're moving about the country, we've got some rain showers in through Seattle. Nice in San Francisco. Plenty of sunshine there with temperatures in the 60s. LA, temperatures in the 70s. Salt Lake City, nice and comfortable. Same with Denver in the low 70s. Warm in Dallas, temperatures in the 80s. A few more cities for you here. Milwaukee, low 70s. Louisville, we could see some showers and thunderstorms, temperatures in the 80s, pushing 90 in through Austin, Texas. Cleveland and New York, some rain showers, temperatures in the 80s, and Tampa in the upper 80s. So ridge of high pressure here, that is giving us the warm temperatures from the Midwest out to the mid-Atlantic. The low and the high, that's where we could potentially get some severe weather, especially as we go in through Tuesday. And then out west, we've got a ridge of high pressure, bringing some warm temperatures to Southern California. Everything shifts to the east as we go in through Tuesday. Gets a little bit cooler around the Great Lakes, and then out into Texas, things warm up a little bit. And there's the next trough of low pressure moving into the Pacific Northwest. With regards to temperatures, Pacific Northwest, cool with those areas of low pressure. Temperatures in the 50s. LA in the 70s, just spoke about that. Dallas, Houston, mid 80s. And then from Boston to New York, temperatures generally in the 60s and the 70s. And of course, down into Florida, we're in the 80s there. And then as we go into your Tuesday, we warm up a little bit in the center part of the country. Topeka, St. Louis into the low 80s. Phoenix getting hot into the low 90s, and then 50s pretty much along the northern tier until you get to the Great Lakes. Minneapolis, we're going in the low 70s. So temperature trend for Tampa, we're going to be above average for the next 7 days. Average is 86. We'll be pushing 90 most days through the week. And then as we make our way into Dallas, average for you is 79. We'll be above average through Wednesday, and then a little bit cooler Thursday Thursday into Friday, and will stay very close to average going in through next weekend. And then for Charlotte, North Carolina, average for you 77 will be above average all the way until we get, well, basically the next 7 days, but a little bit cooler as we head into Tuesday, and then we push 90 Thursday and Friday before cooling it down slightly into next weekend. And then LA temperature and basically right around average for the next 3 days, but then we warm up into the 80s Thursday and Friday before we cool it down going into next weekend.
Nicole Kidman.
Oscar winner Nicole Kidman honored with the American Film Institute's 49th Life Achievement Award at the ceremony in Hollywood Saturday night. The Australian actress is the first from her country to receive the award. She entered the industry as a teen and made a name for herself in the early 1990s, starring in films like Days of Thunder and legendary director Stanley Kubrick's final movie, Eyes Wide Shut. Kidman has been an Oscar nominee 5 times, winning the award for Best Actress in 2003 for her portrayal of English writer Virginia Woolf in The Hours. A woman in Massachusetts is telling her story of overcoming the obstacles of autism while going all in on her passion. Spectrum's Richard Damas has more as World Autism Month comes to a close this week.
Communicating emotions through words can sometimes be difficult. She is a choreographer who says she has found dancing to be a powerful tool to overcome autism and interact with others.
My parents put me in ballet class when I was 4 years old to try to help me start socializing with my peers. And I found that I really loved ballet because it was very structured, and structure is something that really helps me navigate the world.
Pilecki says having autism made it difficult for her to connect with her peers growing up. She says dancing has been a great help because it's allowed her to have a dialogue with her community in a way that's more natural for her.
Dance is essentially like a big vestibular stim, and stimming is a self-stimulatory behavior. Again, everybody does it. Autistic people just tend to do it in more obvious ways, like flapping your hands or rocking back and forth. Those are some of the ways I do it.
On Wednesday, Pilecki was at the campus dance studio practicing a piece she's been working on since February called With Me, which will be a duet exploring communication and celebrating connection.
I was really interested in pulling away from social norms and how do we navigate a connection that feeds into and pulls away from the social norms that are standard in society.
Dancing has helped Pilecki find her voice, and she hopes by continuing, her peers will be able to understand her better as well.
People who connect with the world differently, autistic people, neurodivergent people, they offer so many different diverse perspectives, and opening your world to them will make your world richer. So I hope that people will look for beauty and opportunity.
In South Hadley, Richard Damas, Spectrum News.
She's really stepping up to the challenge there. And you can always stay connected with us here at Spectrum News by getting your national and local headlines on the go. Just download the free Spectrum and on Google Play. I'm Bree Driscoll. Thanks so much for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
The 2024 election will decide who leads our nation and the balance of power in Congress, impacting all of us. From Capitol Hill to the Oval Office, let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth coverage with our dedicated experts in local politics. Strengthening democracy by informing your community. That's our mission. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the field and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped. She didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out."